We are back and ready to rumble as we're going to the final game of this best of 3 series, this knockout series in the LCS Summer Proving Grounds. I'm Mazel, joined by Joshi yet again, and we're going to be going over a little bit of what happened in that chaotic, crazy, bloody game number 2.
It definitely felt like a lot of the tone of this game was set very early with Anda just finding Tomio out multiple times in the jungle, and Tomio tried to do something in order to keep himself in the game, but just found himself falling further and further behind. And while Pretty's Lissandra was the recipient of this kill, it ends up feeling like the fact that Zach was never a big part of this game was the bigger part of it, right? They don't have this tank, they aren't able to create space for Team Luke in particular later in the game.
And you can see moments of brightness from those engages and things along those lines, but it just never stuck, right? And that's something that you needed to happen, especially when you're playing Zach. You feel like stuck is part of the game. But he wasn't able to find it, and it came off the back of that early aggression that we've been wanting to see from Immortals Academy.
We saw, it didn't turn out the way we initially expected. We saw a solo kill from Tony Top onto Viper. We saw a number of situations where Tony Top was getting the better of that matchup, but unfortunately for Evil Geniuses, it wasn't enough to put them in a spot where they were strong enough to win a lot of these fights. They just kept leaving Team Luke out. Jojo Pion wasn't able to find the big plays that we know his LeBlanc can sometimes do. And when you are just giving up basically 2 of your main damage sources, it becomes very hard to play out a lot of these team fights.
And what I think is so funny about a lot of these later game team fights is they're literally all over the place. Like, the screen can barely capture the entirety of the 5v5 because they are all over. And it's just so split, which makes it interesting me going into game 3 if we see more of that split tussling, or if we see a little bit more tried and true fashion from both these teams. Because this chaotic game, albeit very fun, was probably not very fun for the stress of the team.
It became very difficult, right? Because with such chaotic fights, it's very hard to play these, again, very cerebral styles of the first game where you're trying to do certain things, you're trying to have very clear game plans. Here, it's just like, well, our characters go in, and they don't really go out. So you just have to find the right engagement. It's a very different spot where Immortals were much better at that this game than Evil Geniuses were. And I want to see Evil Geniuses return to the cerebral style, but it's also very hard to manufacture drafts that are like that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think that draft between these two teams is going to be so crucial for this game 3. I mean, always is, right? You're picking the champions that are be playing on the Rift, but especially with the mental game, the mental warfare that's been going on so far, I feel like, especially with some of the picks that have been let through or taken away from both these teams, this draft for game 3 is going to be of huge importance. It's going to be very interesting to me to see what pieces Immortals are able to get for that top side of the map again, see if that early proactivity helps them out yet again, or where that stability comes from for EGA itself.
I also have to pay attention to the mid lane, right? We've seen LeBlanc into Lissandra on blue side and red side both times, right? It's been the same thing, and the Lissandra has a 100% win rate. So I wonder how that's going to be affecting the way that these two teams are going to be playing, because it is something where I still think the LeBlanc is very good even into the Lissandra, but for whatever reason, they aren't able to manufacture situations where the LeBlanc is up to the strength that we know it can be.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy because there was 2 solo kills, and they were both for EGA, where they ended up losing the game. Whoever gets solo kills apparently loses. But I just think that conversation is very interesting, that mid lane matchup, because it's something that we put a lot of focus on going into this. What LeBlanc priority are we going to see for both these teams? What are we going to see in general from the influence outside of that into mid lane? Is mid lane going to be influence things outside of that? And so I want to see in this game number 3, if Pretty and Jojo Pion are really able to rise to the occasion to help out the rest of their team, because this game 3 draft early on, I'm thinking that we're going to get a lot of the same of what we've seen, because these compositions feel comfortable for these teams.
And it's interesting to me as well, because typically we look at Pretty and Jojo Pion to be pretty important members of their teams, right? They tend to be very loud and very able to get a lot of these big plays, but it doesn't feel like either of them has really done that so far this series. So if one of them shows up and just has a really good game 3, it should turn the series into their favor. And I think we're probably going to be diverting away from this LeBlanc versus Lissandra, whether it's because people are betting out one of these two champions or because they're going to be switching to something else. It doesn't feel like something that we're likely to handshake again.
And I'm gonna throw it in here just for the sake of doing it, but I want to know what Kelsey Moser's thoughts are on Tony
That's two.
Top's Jackson. Yeah, that's two. That Tony Top's Jackson that game. See how important or what could have been a little bit different for that, because I think this pick is obviously such a crucial one for Tony Top. He's slammed opponents over and over again. He even showed pretty good performance early on against Viper, one of the best top laners in the tournament, but he wasn't able to pull it out. And we've seen other times where he can. Do they come out with that in game number 3? We'll have to find out. We got to sit into a little break while we do get ready for that draft. The pick and ban for game number 3, the final game of this series, is coming up right after this. Welcome back, and we're diving straight back into it. As we set up before, game number 3 of this best of 3. We're tied 1-1. Immortals Academy against EG Academy. This is where the big brains of Matt and Jensen go to work.
We'll see what adaptations they want to make, because we've seen Thresh getting taken off the table, Irelia getting removed from the board as well, and this feels very similar to the drafts that we've had previously in this series, and I honestly expect it to remain pretty similar. Lee Sin probably going to get taken off the table here, and what do you know, there it goes.
Just too big brain, Joshi. Too big brain, just like the coaches here for both these teams.
Oh, there's
the LeBlanc does get taken out, so no more of that matchup. We're out. We're done with that. We're moving forward. We're getting into positivity for our lives here. I do want to highlight that Aurelia ban, though, as well as the Xin Zhao. It will be Immortals Academy on that blue side this time around, where EG Academy were able to decide that they wanted the red side. And so I want to know how much that comes into play here, what kind of differences we see, because EG looked real good on the red side last time.
Ooh, Rakan coming through. The big thing about the blue side of the map is it is easier to dive against red side top laners, right? Because you have access to the tri-brush, you're able to come in and you're able to attack from the same side. It generally becomes easier to really be aggressive, and Viper, even though he will probably have to blind pick his top laner, if he does it with something that Anda and Pretty and even Joey can come help him out with, sometimes the bad matchups don't matter just because you have up to 3 other people in your lane.
Yeah, that's the bodies are what matter here, especially when you're just throwing everything at them. But the Ziggs first pickup for EG is nice, gives you a little bit of stability as well as some flexibility there. Not necessarily the biggest thing. I still think it's going to be, Team Luke all the way, but we'll see what kind of changes they want to bring. Leona is actually locked in. We saw a lot of focus in the second phase of bans last game towards these kind of engage heavy champions. It will be Leona making it through this time for EG. And Vayne is locked in with Camille. They're showing their hands a little bit here, and Keith is getting the carry pants.
I really like this coming out from Jensen. This is one of the things that they had prepared some things for. It's on the slide, right?
It's
Ziggs
on the slide.
Quote, Ziggs for Team Luke enables mistakes to get away with extending his roams. But one of the easiest ways that you can punish anybody who's going to be roaming super heavily is you just dive them. And Vayne plus the Rakan, very good at diving the Ziggs in the side lane. And we're also seeing a blind Renekton coming in for Evil Geniuses. And that is scary going up against Viper and Pretty. Excuse me, it's not blind. The Camille is already picked up, but it's still a situation where the Renekton isn't super excited about this matchup. They can definitely play it, but it's a situation where you're kind of handshaking a lane, whereas before we saw a very strong counter pick coming in for Tony Top.
And that's just awesome butting heads there in the top lane. We've got the Renekton for Tony Top versus Viper's Camille. I mean, if there's stakes on the line, they're going to be towards top lane, and that matchup is going to decide them. So now that we're getting in the second phase here, we're already seeing some of the crucial bans come out. EG Academy take away the Trundle and the Syndra. Meanwhile, Immortals Academy had taken away the Nidalee already to take that comfort away from Tomio.
It's also a very strong combination with Renekton, right? You just press W, then you press Q on the Nidalee, and hey, somebody is just losing half their health instantly. So very tough spot if Viper were to leave that up, and instead, we're going to have to see Tomio shift to something else. Now, I'm kind of curious in seeing something a little bit more unusual coming out from Tomio, so I kind of want to give him counterpick here if I was Matt, but of course I'm not Matt, so I expect we're probably going to see, whoa, that is not the kind of unusual I was expecting blind, but the Graves also very strong. You already have the magic damage source in Ziggs, so you're a little bit more free to kind of go with whatever direction you want.
It's been rising in popularity. It's been picked up so much today. The Nocturne gets locked in for Evil Geniuses Academy.
It does give them very guaranteed diving tools, but it doesn't have the same kind of lockdown, right? I look at things like Camille and Jarvan as the things that set up for the Ziggs best. Nocturne does it, and it makes it a little bit harder to actually see where the Mega Inferno Bomb is always going to be going, but you're still just going to be able to walk out of it a lot of the time. So it's a bit of a trade-off. You have a guaranteed dive, but you aren't necessarily going to have the Inferno Bomb stacking on top of it to get the extra damage.
Yeah, we do have the Orianna locked in for Pretty, so a lot of teamfight potential there. Shockwave is going to be something that everybody has to watch out for inside of Evil Geniuses Academy, especially. And their team fight's looking pretty stacked here. Would be interesting to see an enabler like the Sejuani for Anda and a little bit more aggression there potentially as well through the jungle. And it's going to be locked in, Sejuani for Immortals Academy.
I'm really liking this quite a bit. Ooh, we've seen a little bit of Action played previously. I would be excited to see it play, but we'll wait to see what gets locked in. I like this 2v2 that Immortals have set up for themselves between the Camille and the Sejuani. You stack up the stun passive so quickly onto either Tony Top or Tomio that it makes it very difficult to play through, as we do see it's going to be Jojo Picon's silence going into the Orianna. He only has, I'd say, like 2 really good ultimates. He's got the ultimate from Sejuani, and then of course if he can pick up the Hextech Ultimatum, it gives him another dash to play with, but the rest of them kind of hard to use. The Shockwave, while very powerful, you can only sombrero. It's only on top of your head.
It gets a little bit more difficult for the execution aspect of it. That's something we wanted to look at going into this third game, because both teams, I feel like, have had stumbles throughout this series so far, right? And shown high highs, but also low lows, and different looks from what we've initially thought of for this one. But this is where it all comes down to. The team compositions are set. This is it. This is it. This is the composition you're going into your potential final game of Proving Ground. So both these teams, execution is the name of the game. That early aggression is the name of the game. How does it all pan out? We'll find out on the other side of this break. We take it away. We are back, and we're just getting ready. We're buying our time until we hit the rift for this third and final game of the evening. It's been a long one, Joshi, but we've set up the team compositions. We see everything that's bound in front of us, and now it's all down to Tomio and Anda and how that early game goes. Last time around, I gotta say, it was a little bit more tussle-heavy than the first game.
Unfortunately, Zach is not particularly well equipped for any of that tussling, whereas this time around we are seeing Tomio playing something a little bit more standard that has a lot more tools early on in the game, and overall I actually really like the Evil Geniuses roster or the composition they put together, because it feels very standard for Evil Geniuses. Every single one of them is playing a champion that we've seen them play many times before, and they have to be very comfortable, whereas Anda, we have seen him play Sejuani in the past, but it's not something that he has necessarily put on a ton of stage time into this champion.
Yeah, and I guess it's the other parts that I'm looking at for Immortals to kind of bring that up necessarily. You can utilize the Sejuani as that early bruiser to kind of get what you want on the map, but it's everybody else that's going to really bring up the slack, and especially the fact that Immortals were able to pick up Rakan first pick for them. They want to lean into comfort. They want to lean into these kinds of moments, get everybody on the same page, and get the ball rolling. Well, you see it unfold in front of us here. Summoner's Rift lays before, and battle is ahead. Evil Geniuses Academy taking on Immortals Academy for their lives in the proving ground.
It's game 3 at this point. One of these teams gets to continue playing and will be going up against Resolve. The other team is going home at this point. 5th seed, 6th seed, very close. Both games, neither game itself has been particularly close, but that's just showing how effective some of these teams can be at actually closing out the game. So, not a whole lot of early vision being put down by either team, and in fact, both junglers will be starting in the fog of war, it looks like, unless Anda wants to push forward and try and throw down a ward at the end.
Last time around, it was a little bit of aggression from the side of Anda early because of some early warding they were able to put down. So this time around, not going to be the same state of game, but it will be Anda going down towards the bot side of the map to get this started, as well as Tomio. So they are changing it up just a little bit from prior.
Exactly. Both of them starting on the bottom side. I know we saw them both start top side earlier, and that put Tomio in a bit of a bind. He was not able to do the wolves into the blue buff because Anda just fought him, but we are in a spot now where Tomio could potentially do something fairly similar. He just wants to clear out a lot of his jungle and trying to get these level 6 as quickly as possible. And I don't think that they're necessarily super excited about the prospect of going for a top lane 2v2 like they often look for.
Keith looking for the early aggression on Team Luke, though. Level 1 almost kills Team Luke with the ignite. Now Keith, oh my god, don't tell me Keith is gonna die.
Boy.
First blood goes to Mystiques, and it's all wrong, man. It's all wrong.
Man, one of the reasons why you always look for this, oh, we're not done. Jojo going on to Pretty gets a lot of damage there, too. Oh, Pretty?
He's still going for it. Has a decent amount of damage,
Okay.
but Jojo Pyun able to sidestep out of that, but what a start on bot lane for EGA.
Normally you pick
Wait,
the
Pretty.
Oh,
They just don't want us to talk. We're just not allowed. Joshi, your big brain is too
Fight.
much.
oop. Just more blood. No talk. Just fight. Okay. Alright, well, normally you pick the Vayne for the ability to actually fight against the Ziggs, because Ziggs relies entirely on skill shots in order to do any of their damage, right? And the Vayne just dodges out on almost all of it all at once. So, if they are able to continue doing that, Vayne is going to be very strong. Unfortunately, you have a Leona. Leona 1v1s most AD carries until at least level 6, and then depending on what champion it is, maybe continues to do so later on. So Keith underestimating how much damage to Mystique actually does, while the jungles are very calmly clearing out their jungles and going to be at top side at about the same time, but Tommy was faster with the number of camps he's picked up.
It's just funny to me. Like, you get that early tussling bot lane. It's crazy, right? Keith goes down. They almost had Team Luke. He had a sliver of health, able to turn it back. And then you got the top side of the map, who, yes, we've seen skirmishing in the middle, but it's all about level 6s, baby. It's about farming up, getting to the later part of the game. Now Jojo Pyun is going to be able to spot out Anda on the aggressive take. Will not be caught out this time around.
Playing a dangerous game. Playing very far forward, even with such low health, because he knows how much HP Kingslayer will give him back. But it's also a situation where if he calculates wrong, he could just get blown up
double
very
scuttle
quickly.
That's a double scuttle for Anda. His pathing has been immense here. Tomio had to back there. Now will not find what he wants. He's actually going to the top side of the jungle. There's no camps on that side. It is barren.
Well, there's wolves.
There's
there's wolves.
yeah, there's
You
wolves.
know, you got the
I'm sorry.
puppies.
There's a little smudge. It just didn't look like wolves. But hey, at least you get wolves. But I feel like that's a long trek just to get wolves.
It is very tough.
And he didn't even get it because he's going to go top. So.
Yeah, it's very tough for Tomio, but look at this potential dive. Look at where Joey is. They're potentially looking for an opportunity here because JoJo's stuck around for so long super low.
Viper stepped forward top lane against Tony Top, who was baiting him out with just a sliver of a health bar, and Tomio picks up the kill. 2 kills back now for EG.
Very easy play to go for there. There's no flash on Viper, expecting for more 2v2s, more opportunities to fight, but not going to be able to find it. But at the same time, JoJo had to use that flash in the mid lane in order to stay alive from the dive. It came through from the rest of Immortals, but nobody dies there. Instead, just going to have to use the flash and likely going to be teleporting back to lane with... Okay, I was going to be very surprised with the Ionian Boots. Not something you typically see as the first item. Coming out from Silas. Instead, going with Amp Tome and a Dark Seal for the AP.
Yeah, a little bit more damage there. Needs to be able to put up with Pretty. Be able to keep him on the backside of these trades initially. Now we will see both junglers going down towards the bot side of the map. Dragon is on the board. Again, We're starting out lackluster with a Cloud Dragon to kick us off, but that means that it gets spicier and spicier as the game goes on.
We did see the Infernal Soul threatened last game, as Immortals on the red side were almost able to pick that up. So we are potentially in for a treat because all of the souls other than Cloud are more exciting to watch. But this is a situation where we
Why you gotta do Cloud like that, man? Come on. It's wind, it's air, it's niceties.
I think it's strong. It's just boring to watch.
It's just boring. Oh, man. You know, all right, it's fine. I'll accept that. It's okay, because sometimes. But I do want to see...
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. It's fine. Shockwave in mid lane. Pretty's trying to be the bad guy here and take down Jojo Pyun, but cannot find it.
Not actually going to be able to get a real freeze on this either, right? This actually will result in his wave pushing farther out if he lets this crash, because now they're going to be further targeting on his single minion. So, I mean, it does help him push, but I also think he could have just gotten this same push just by being a bit more aggressive. And just like hitting the wave earlier, so a bit of an odd thought.
Yeah, and something I find interesting here has been Immortals Academy have literally been all over the map. You look at every moment, they're roaming, they're in between, they're trying to set up plays, but they just haven't been able to. Now against Mystiques, maybe they can, but I like that idea from Immortals, always being ready for a play, but the next step in that is to execute the play, to find the plays that really matter.
They haven't found any, right? They are currently down about 1,000 gold. The dragon is still up. Tomio is currently living in Ando's top side of the jungle, and he's going to be getting level 6 rather soon, so we're potentially looking at a dive up against Viper, who, we have to remind people, has Ignite, not Flash, so he doesn't have a lot of tools to get out.
Paranoia is available. Here it comes. You know the trigger is going to be pulled at some point. Tony Top has already popped the Dominus, and Viper is looking worse for wear. Hextech Ultimatum, but it's not enough, and Tomio is going to pick up another kill on the top laner of Immortal.
Giving me a bit of a fright in there, Tony Top, almost executing him to minions, but he knows the Q's up. It's going to be in time, going to be grabbing themselves quite a bit here, and there's no play happening on the opposite side of the map, so this is just a clean kill, a clean couple of plays going over to Evil Geniuses and Immortals. Anda going to have to try and find something, not level 6 yet though, but might look now.
Very, very scary predicament that this game is in right now in favor of Evil Geniuses, right? You've got Rift Herald now just spawned on the map. You've got a lot of priority for Evil Geniuses Academy. And their level 6s ain't too shabby. And they've got everybody's got everything except for Tony Top, waiting on Mystiques to pick that one up. But their setup around the fights is huge. And how do Immortals stop that? You can see already Joey and Anda are in this river here in front of the Dragon Pit, but Paranoia's already popped here, almost was able to find Pretty. Now the re-engage. Is this where they can turn it around? Shockwave is going to go wide. That's so unfortunate for Pretty, but nice. Prison is going to get Jojo Pyun down to the tower. Pretty almost dies, just surviving by a smidgen of health.
Team Luke teleports in, not going to do anything. I was going to praise Evil Geniuses for their dive top lane for not committing to Paranoia, but we don't actually get to see exactly how it was used here. Evil Geniuses are the ones who start the fight, but they don't get anything further. Mystiques coming down, first one back to bottom lane, so Joey isn't there to help out, but it's still very difficult to get a hold of Vayne at this point in the game. The Tumble is just so versatile in its ability to dodge all of these abilities.
Definitely is. I will appreciate the kill going over to Anda, giving him a little bit more presence on the map especially. But that lockdown is crucial. How can you get that into the fights is what you're asking. And Tomio has now already started up the Rift Herald. So EGA are not backing down for a minute, but this might be an overextend as IMT have found them. And Joey is going to use the quickness plus the grand entrance. Tony Top is locked out, but look how much healing he gets. And Anda is going to be taken down next. Kingslayer comes out, and Tomio is going to be traded back. It's a shutdown to Viper, who gives the thumbs up on the way out. But Tomio has already died. Rift Herald will go over to EGA.
Feel like this probably could have been cleaner. They skipped... Oh, don't skip that step. Okay. They kind of skipped a step in letting Team Luke and Mystiques come up, but at least they are going to be winning the 1-for-1 because they get the Rift Herald after. And now Mystiques, he doesn't want to hang on to this. His Vision Trinket is too valuable. So throwing this into mid lane, getting a lot of damage. Remember, there's also a Ziggs. This turret's going to be taking a ton of damage, and we have to see a response coming from Immortals.
The great entrance might be there to get the lockdown enough for damage from Pretty, but it's not going to be enough. They will just focus on the Rift Herald. Rift Herald did get a decent amount of plates. And that's a lot of gold given over to Evil Geniuses Academy.
It is, and we might start seeing early transition to the 1-3-1 that Evil Genius's composition is so good at. Team Luke doesn't have the full item, but he does have the Lost Chapter. Okay, we'll take a look at this mid lane play. So Tomio goes for this fight, right? Looking at Pretty, and unfortunately with the flash up, it's just too hard to stick to this target. And
oh, the shockwave.
Yeah,
it's
shockwave.
So close.
This whole fight was so close. Look how low Pretty ends up
I
going.
know. Oh, man, even the comment at the end. Oh. Steve Luke's got to be feeling that one.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. But yeah, we are seeing Team Luke in the mid lane. They want to pick up this structure. And of course, Jojo Pyun, very well regarded for his ability to actually split push later on in the game. With a lot of these split pushing champions, Tomio picks up a dragon for themselves. First one of the game at 11 minutes. A little bit later than we were initially expecting, based on how much pressure it's been under previously in the series.
Yeah, but both these teams just opting into the fights here. That priority around mid lane is crucial for both these teams, at least reminiscent of. And the fact that we're still seeing Anda hover back over this way just in case, having the Glacial Prison available as well.
Oh.
Actually, Paranoia on bot lane. There's the tumble, but is it going to be enough? The fear and the connection from Jojo Pyun. Keith's life is ended.
They also get the turret in the mid lane because everybody from Immortals was trying to respawn, and Mystique's now top lane. We're looking at another dive.
Oh my god, it just doesn't stop. EGA are just ruthless. TP's now coming down for Pretty to join the fight. Can Viper survive? No. And Hextech Ultimatum is not going to be enough. Pretty. Oh no, Jojo Pyun wants it. He flashes. He gets the damage. The shockwave. The damage on the Pretty. He's down. No, he can't get him. Jojo Pyun is not able to secure the kill, but the pressure is there. And Tony Top says, don't worry. I got you, Bay. And Glacial Prison is going to end Tony Top's life. Now, EGA have overextended, and Immortals Academy are making bank off of it. They won't find Mystiques, but Keith is hunting. Keith wants another kill. You gotta get Vayne the gold, and here it comes, straight into the mouth. Go ahead and open it up, Keith, because you just gotta take the gold. Eventually, he'll get it, and Immortals Academy are on the board.
Still, though, 3,500 gold lead in favor of Evil Geniuses because they're getting a bunch of kills, but they're also getting structure. Ziggs was there, which means the turret's not long for this world. We also get to see this. There's not a lot that Vayne can actually do. You have to go for a cleanse almost instantly. Keith not on it just right away. Thought he had flash out of range, and unfortunately goes down. But this is the problem that Immortals had, is they weren't responding on the map. They weren't trying to make a play elsewhere. It takes you too long to run from the mid lane to bottom lane for any play to actually happen. You need to already be on your way, and instead they try and make a play on the top side of the map, and it only goes okay for Immortals because of how hard Evil Geniuses actually press for this.
That Kingslayer plus Shockwave, my goodness, he got almost all of his health back. That's crazy. But yeah, it's the overextension. It's Tony Top just saying, I'm a Chad. I'm going to go get the kill that you couldn't finish off. And unfortunately, it ends up in him dying, giving them trade back as well, and a lot of gold back into the pockets of Immortals Academy, and especially Viper as well.
The bomb ramp just has to waddle away. It's a waddle diff, right? He's just able to pick up the turret and walk right on out. Mystiques, as we said, open the mouth, Keith. Free, baby bird.
He had to kind of shovel it in there himself though, because they just left it. they just put the food out in front. We're like, hey, you got to fend for yourself at this point.
There they go, another turret. This is what Ziggs does. He's walked from top to mid to bot, taking every single structure. Is getting traded back on the top side of the map, but we also see a fight down bottom with Tony Top and Viper continuing to duke it out. It feels like this has just been the story of this lane every single game, and so far Tony Top has come out individually ahead in 2 of them, in both Game 2 and Game 3.
I think it's so interesting, the individual plays, the 1v1s we get, but as well as how much influence Mystiques and Joey have had on the map this game. They literally were just not bot lane. They were just roaming constantly. We saw Mystiques on the bounce back plays as well constantly. It's just been absolutely insane. You're just having 2 people roaming around the map in your jungler and support.
We also got to pay attention to the fact that Vayne, now with 2 kills and farming pretty decently, is going to be a bit of a problem for Evil Geniuses. Yes, you have a lot of tools to jump onto them, but there's also a lot of tools from Immortals to prevent you from actually hitting this target. So this is where we're going to start looking at people like Team Luke in order to be the difference maker. If you can land the Mega Inferno Bomb, even if it's the outer edge of it, not the center, you can do a lot of help towards allowing people like Tomio and JoJo to actually finish off Keith's Vayne. Because if you don't do that, this Vayne can absolutely clean up a lot of these fights if they don't die early on.
Yeah, I feel like you get a little bit more of that sustained damage in the Vayne, right? You get more blow up potential, especially with Zig, you know, having bombs and all that kind of stuff. I feel like this is just the theme for today. We're just gonna keep using puns and things. It's fine. But that's the thing that's the biggest difference for me is how free can Keith get in positioning in these fights?
Nice.
And how free is Team Luke? That was a beautiful charge. Oh my goodness, Team Luke with the Ziggs mechanics.
That was great. I mean, it was all on vision, right? This ward over here helped quite a bit, but Anda going in.
JoJo Pyun, that's Shockwave on top of it. And Tomio was there a little bit too late. Now Anda's in some trouble, but there's so many bodies from Immortals. EGA have now joined Tony top on the back side of the fight, but it's not going EGA's way. It's all Immortals here as they almost get a total ace if they can chase down Mistakes. Keith, the roll into the wall. It's so unfortunate. He might still have it, though. Humble's going to be coming up soon. That is unfortunate. But they take 4 members of EGA off the map, and that's a dragon going over to Immortals.
You know what's crazy, Lennon? They're still down in gold. They are still in a spot where they haven't yet found a lead because of how much gold Evil Genius have picked up in all the side lanes. JoJo, no way.
The Glacial Prison! Oh, pretty with the flash of what's too late from JoJo Pyun. Oh, can he get it, though? The Abscon of Duct isn't going to be enough. No, he can't get the distance. Pretty with the outplay.
Oh, this is a couple of times now that JoJo has thought he had the full 100-0 up against Pretty and didn't quite have it, but the silence continues to get stronger. But hey, Lennon, when we get to see this replay, which is right now, notice how long Keith is actually able to stay up in this fight. He's completely untouched, right? They use the Mega Inferno Bomb on somebody else. The Paranoia has been used onto Rakan, and now Keith is finally able to join in the fight, and while Tony Top gets on top of him for a second, the cleanse is there, and Keith, untouched, just staying away. It's like, oh, well, Tony Top doesn't have any more dashes. Time to go back into the rest of the fight, clean up a couple of kills, and unfortunately this tumble doesn't allow them to get the distance, but hey, 2 extra kills going over to Vayne does make this Vayne super, super threatening, so Keith might be earning his pay here today.
He definitely, hey, he wanted a moment to show himself. He wanted to let this moment speak for itself, and hey, you whip out the Vayne, you're 4 kills into it in the 3rd game, in your knockout game. That's a good feeling here, but you got to keep trudging. You got to keep working as it's going to be Evil Geniuses Academy taking a Rift Herald for themselves.
Should be able to pick up another turret with this, right? Every single time you have Ziggs plus a Rift Herald, it should be at least one structure going down. Tomio grabs it. Also has the Stride Breaker for himself. So, with the next series of ultimates already coming up from Evil Geniuses, there is an opportunity for them to look for a fight. The problem for IMT, though, is that they don't have great ways to siege. You're going up against a Ziggs, and you can try and die, but you need to bring both Anda and Viper to it in order to try and take down Team Luke.
It's very hard to get to that back line, especially with the short range that Keith has, right? You have the tumble, you have the movement, but you can't necessarily free fire on the back line unless you're right up in their faces. So I want to see how that movement kind of comes down. Viper immediately hook shots out, realizing there could be some troubles heading down his way. But we are getting a little moment, a lapse of action here while we set up for this Rift Herald play for the next objectives for both these teams.
And I kind of want to take an opportunity to look at how effective Joey versus Mystiques have been with their time roaming around the map, right? We see that Joey has been instrumental to all of Immortals' success, 0, 0, and 8, only missing out on 1 kill participation in this game, whereas Mystiques, you know, he's also been roaming around the map, and he's been in most of these fights. He's still only 1, 1, and 1, not necessarily able to pick up everything, and it feels like Joey from coin flipping fights better.
Coin flipping, Tony Top might need to figure something out with his coin because this bot lane is not going his way. It is Joey who actually picks up the kill.
But it's just a kill, Lennon. It's just a kill. You're not going to be getting tempo on this dragon. You're not going to be able to take down a structure because of how far back your wave was actually pushed. It is 300 gold going over to Immortals, but it's not nearly as much as it could be at this point.
It definitely isn't. And that's the thing that's interesting to me is, like, we had the first game. not a lot of action, right? Not a lot to be said until later on. Then we had the second game, which was absolutely crazy, the complete opposite. And here we're getting a little bit of both, right? We're waiting for setups. We're trying to make sure that we're in the right positions for both of these teams and that the execution can come down for both these teams. Now we're getting to 2 item spikes, right? And we got another dragon in a minute and a half. That dragon stacking is going to become even more important, at least for both these teams, in terms of control around the map.
And we're starting to see a little bit more as the vision control does expand for both these teams. How they're actually going to be looking to manufacture fights, right? Tomio, we've known him for being this aggressive player, for being willing to do a lot of things. I think he went by, what was it, C2 Meteos for a long time?
Yeah.
But he's also, yeah, you know, at Twitch chat would always be like, oh, is this Meteos playing? What's Meteos doing in the amateur scene? But no, it's just Tomio. He's running around, but he also needs to be very confident that he's going to be diving in a useful situation. He needs to expect that somebody is isolated, and Immortals have not yet done so.
Yeah, that's one of the crucial factors here if they want to find success with the paranoias, right? Paranoia is all good and well, and if you can use it correctly. If not, then things get a little bit more dicey as you go into these fights. But we see the priority being gained in mid lane by Evil Genius's Academy, setting up themselves for that dragon that's spawning in 30 seconds. They do have some pushing in the top lane by Tony Top. I'm still wondering where this Rift Herald play is going to come down, because I do feel like it has to be before the dragon spawns. It's about to come up.
Looks like he might want to drop it in the top side of the map before he goes over towards the dragon, force somebody from Immortals to deal with it, but instead going to be going back towards the mid lane. And teams are taking very different paths in towards this objective, right? You're seeing Immortals come up from the bottom side. They're going to take control of a lot of these choke points first, but this Rift Herald in the mid lane, I don't even think it's going to crash into the turret, because Viper's already here, but no, they attack him!
They're going for it here. Tomio goes in under tower. The tower's down, and Viper's gone. They've still got the Rift Herald. You make it the dragon, you're going to lose your inhib.
Wow, this is great play coming through. They don't care about the dragons. It's still only the second dragon at 22 minutes already coming in for Immortals, whereas Evil Geniuses pick up an inhibitor already. Great play coming through from Evil Genius' side. This is a cerebral kind of play that I was looking for in the first place, and it's going to reward them with 2 turrets and an inhibitor in exchange for a mountain dragon. I'd take that trade every day of the week.
Yeah, and Immortals are just sitting there stunned a little bit. Like, oh, we thought we were ready for a 5v5. Like, they were getting wards down. They had Viper taking care of the Rift Herald. Tomio makes the executive decision to take out the mid lane, and there it goes. After that, it is all said and done. Huge stuff from Evil Geniuses. As you said, that cerebral gameplay, but Immortals need to get right back in.
It's the isolated member, right? Immortals can't afford to isolate anybody, and it turns out not even Viper is immune to that. He doesn't have Flash, right? He has the Ignite, so he's very targetable by the members of Evil Geniuses. So, as they start to move around, they need to be very careful about leaving Viper alone in these split-pushing situations, because if they don't see Tomio, suddenly that's an opportunity for an engage. But Immortals, first ones to the play, potentially looking for a Baron, and Mystiques might be too far out.
Yeah, they're looking for Mystiques. Shockwave comes out. Mystique splashes over the wall very smartly, but he's still going to be dead. You got TP now coming in. They're going to commit to this fight, but this is not a TP that you want to come into, Tony Top. He's already got all of his health bar taken out. Mega Inferno Bomb hits nobody, and EGA are just going to get wiped from that fight. Oh my God.
What? I'm so shocked that they chose to try and keep him alive. That is the mentality of a team that is always looking for these situations to go for a fight, and now it looks like Immortals are going to be the ones who are actually starting up the Baron. They have Vayne. They're doing the damage. Teleport comes through from Jojo Pyun. Team Luke is here. This is very hard against the Ziggs. We'll see if they're committing.
Slow take. It's such a slow take right now. Keith, yeah, he's on 2 items, but it's still slow. There's a lot of health to get through, and Immortals are forced off of it from the poke of EGA.
Very surprised. Again, a couple of decisions, very surprising for both these teams, as we see that Mystiques, he just kind of gets caught out. There's not a lot of vision control in this area for them to do anything with, and this teleport from Tony Top, very, very surprising, right? You're teleporting into a ton of members. They try to time it with Tomio going in at the same time, but you just don't have any DPS. You don't have a whole lot of crowd control now that Leona is gone, and you are forced to use a lot of your summoner spells just to keep yourselves alive. But now they have control of the mid lane. They are in a spot where they are ready to move around and actually take control of the vision control around the Baron. So, as they start to take control of these choke points, we'll see, is Joey going to make the same mistake? He does! He gets caught out by the Mega Inferno Bomb!
What? That's just insanity. The catches in this game have just been crazy. And now EGA are on the Baron.
I can't believe it. There's the exact same mistake in the other direction. Mystique's just caught out right here. Now we're seeing the teleports come through from Immortals. Can they do the same thing as EGA?
Well, there's the engage full on by Mystique's Glacial Prison for Jojo Pyun, and Mystique's is down. Pretty is still there doing damage. Keith is found a kill now. Tomio can't find it onto Pretty, and Immortals are gonna take yet another team fight. How does this happen? Team Lucas, no, he's gonna flash away. He's gonna get away for a moment. Does he? Is he gonna be able to get out? The TP?
He can't back.
No, he's just gonna back. He's just gonna back. I thought he was gonna TP. He's dead anyways. The delayed ace and Immortals Academy will take the Baron.
It's all Keith, man. This entire game, Keith is untouched during these fights, and he's just able to get so much damage down. We'll have to see exactly how it is that Immortals are able to keep this guy safe, but they are playing over and over again. Okay, where is Keith? He's just back here. Mystiques isn't able to get onto him. They are diving so far forward, and Team Luke actually stunned up next to the Baron, isn't even able to throw out any bombs. So we're just in a spot where Keith, there's nobody threatening him. He's able to free hit, and hey, there are very few things scarier than a team with a Vayne that is just able to do whatever they want. So Team Luke tried to do something, but he just gets caught out. He tries to flash away, and unfortunately he's already dead at this point. He just hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah, and that's where some of that sustained damage talk I feel like comes into the conversation, because you can see, every now and then, right, Team Luke able to get a couple pop shots in, get some bombs in, but it's Keith constantly hitting away, and those silver bolts are not too shabby in themselves when they start doing damage. So Keith has gotten the reins. He was handed the reins at the start of this game by that draft, and now he is just completely leading this team to victory. This is a huge momentum shift, and it could just be the inhib going down for Immortals Academy.
Where were the rest of Evil Geniuses? They were chilling out in the bottom side of the jungle, and they're not going to be able to get anything for that. This is going to be an inhibitor going down completely uncontested for them. They don't have the wave player of Team Luke, and they need to be careful that they don't lose more than that. A team fight here could lose them the game, and it looks like Immortals are trying to force that instead of going for the dragon.
No way, they're just going to go for the end here. That's just insanity, but it would be right on par for what this series has brought. Viper goes for one tap. They've still got the Baron. That's one Nexus tower down. Is this it? Have Evil Geniuses been thwarted? Here comes the final fight. Here comes the redeeming moment. Viper is down, but can they get anybody else? Mystiques is going to be taken to just above his death threshold, and Keith is still popping away. Evil Geniuses, they've been routed, and Immortals Academy have found it all. It is Immortals who will continue and knock out Evil Geniuses.
Quadra kill coming in at the end for Keith, man. This game, Keith looked so good across it. He was never threatened. Nobody was ever doing anything to him, and he was just consistently able to pump out the DPS. They pivot away from being a Viper team, and suddenly Keith is able to take the reins and really show why Ziggs is good, but you can't blind it against every team. Keith has the answer.
It just makes my heart swell. Like, every single one of these players put everything they had in this series today. It was absolutely insane. But Keith, to come out on top like that, to know the story behind it, his motivations, his thoughts, my goodness, chef's kiss. But we do have an interview ready to go. We got the Verizon post-match interview with Joey to get a little bit more of that insight. Joey, my dude, after that crazy series, what are your first thoughts coming off of it?
I'm just pretty happy that we're able to knock another team out of the gulag and just go to the next round. Just really happy with my team, and I guess my performance today for the most part, besides one or two really big mistakes.
I like it. I can appreciate that, especially the confidence built up by a series like this going forward, right? This isn't the end goal for you guys. You guys have a lot of things that you want to accomplish. The whole team has so many motivational factors going for them. For you, Joey, specifically, what does this win mean, and how does it pertain to your goals for yourself in Proving Grounds?
I mean, at the start of Proving Grounds, we all thought that we were gonna be able to make the finals, because we have Viper and Onda. They were there last year. It was their time to get their second trophy. We're kind of defending champions kind of, because no org really isn't here and we just have like their players. So it's a really big motivation for me to try to get them there and try to get myself there. Anything like other than like top 3 would like feel like a failure to us. So just trying to put in as much work as we can and just leave the tournament with no regrets.
There you go. We've been hearing that a lot. Just take it as it comes. But I also want to kind of pivot back towards Game 1 versus Game 2, because we saw a very different style in the way that you were playing. You were put on the Tom Kench Game 1, and unfortunately, you guys weren't able to get a whole lot rolling. What was the reset like for your team between the first game and the second game?
We kind of just realized that what we needed to do in draft to be able to beat them. We made a couple of mistakes in the first early game, and we weren't really like too nervous about playing the game 2 or the game 3. The first thing we said after we lost the first game was we have 2 more games to play, guys. It's fine. And just tried to reset our mental. Just took a walk together and just kind of chilled a bit, figured out what we were gonna do for next game, and talked about it out.
Hey, I can always appreciate some team camaraderie there, but the fact that you guys had that confidence, they stick in it. We've got a reverse sweep waiting for you, EGA, and it comes to fruition. That is huge. Now, moving forward, right, you're going to be going up against Resolve, and that is going to be a very tall task for you guys. Do you have any thoughts going into that matchup or anything specific that you want to call out or talk about that series?
Not really. They just play a lot of cringe champions in mid lane, so we'll be looking out for that. Be ready for that. Alpha is always going to play something random, so we'll just be ready for it and just take it game by game and series by series for the rest of PG.
Awesome, man. Well, I got one last thing for you before you leave. I got to give you an opportunity to give some call outs, some shout outs, whoever you want to talk about here. What you got?
Just to everyone on my team, I think they all played really well today. Each of them had their own individual performance. Like, I threw really hard at the bear and I got caught, and I thought the game was over. I thought I lost it for my team, and then they killed them on. I just said, I love you guys, and it was really, really wholesome. And then shout out to the fans and my family and everyone who supported me on my journey.
Oh, that's awesome to hear, man. Hey, keep trudging, keep going, keep fighting, because you guys got a long road ahead of you, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joey. Have a wonderful night. And Joshi, that's the end of it. That was our action-packed evening. I hope everybody stuck along for the whole thing, because that was insane. And we're going to get to go over a little bit of that last series here to break down some of that craziness that we got to see unfold.
It feels like such a big difference in the versions of teams that we got coming through. As Joey kind of says, like, we made some mistakes. We know what we need to do to solve things in order to bring it back. Whereas Evil Geniuses, it felt like they were coming in really confident in games 2 and 3 after their super dominant game 1 victory. But unfortunately, they just skipped a couple of steps. They weren't able to find all the damage that they needed to onto Keith. And despite some very close calls, situations just were not going in their favor most of the times when they were not sure things. And Evil Geniuses, despite some very, very intelligent play to start things off, weren't able to close out this series.
And that's where I want to talk a little bit more about Evil Geniuses. They are knocked out of Proving Grounds. That is a very big disappointment for the organization, for the team. They had such high hopes, right? They have such good team synergies, such good team, at least cohesion, that it looked like the train was going to be long, right? And I'm guessing, Kelsey Moser, by the way, 3rd time, will have some things to say to the team after this, but especially like Matt and the whole organization itself, they should be proud with everything they've been able to put up this year. I mean, EGA has been a constant front runner of good teams in the academy scene. And I think all throughout, even the EG prodigies, like this whole organization is on the right track.
And I feel like, one, we got to shout out Evil Geniuses, because after Cloud9, they kind of used to be the home of like new up-and-coming players. Their academy rosters would cycle a lot of players. But now 100 Thieves, Evil Geniuses doing great work. And I want to give a shout out to something that Peter Dunn said when I asked him a couple questions before today's matches. The fact that these players are super competitively inexperienced. At the beginning of spring, again, most of these guys relatively unknown. Now we look at a bunch of them as potentially top academy prospects is a huge credit to how much work they've actually been putting in, how much growth they still have left to do, and saying that while they are out of this tournament, this is not the end of the line for them.
It is not. Every single one of these players is going to go on to bigger and better things here. That's what I love about this and the development of these teams right throughout and the amateur scene into Proving Grounds. Like, you just went up against crucial members of the team that won Proving Grounds last year. And yes, you lost. You took it to all 3 games, and you had some good moments throughout, right? And you have a lot of things to pull away from. And so that growth, that next step is what I always look at, and the positivity that can come of it. So I have really high hopes for every single one of these members, and it is unfortunate they have to bow out of Proving Grounds now. But my heart goes out to them. You still got to appreciate what Immortals Academy were able to do. The comeback, the reverse sweep after getting a very weird and unstable first game where it was just lackluster in damage and fights, but it turned out to be EGA who won it. But then to come back in the way they did, to be able to pull it out in a reverse sweep in that fashion, and especially this last game, it just sets you up so well going into Resolve in that next round.
We also got to look at that, right? It is a situation where Resolve, it feels like they are continuing to be on the up and up. They lost to Wildcard Red, but had real ways to find wins there. And a lot of us were looking at this team as one of the best teams from Amateur, bar none, right? But as we look towards the rest of the bracket, they still have a lot of other teams that they're going to have to be playing against. FlyQuest Academy, Golden Guardians Academy, C9 Amateur taking on C9 Academy. I mean, it's unfortunate that they're meeting in the lower bracket and they're going to have to get a team kill, but it is the situation where both these teams are in positions where they weren't necessarily expecting. So lots of strong teams left to see, lots of proving grounds left to go. And you're not going to want to miss it at all because we have so many new players that have so much to be excited about because of how bright their futures are.
Yeah, it just gets me all teary-eyed every time I start thinking about the growth that we've seen over this last year throughout the Proving Ground system and everything that goes along with it. It has been absolutely incredible. I got to give a couple last shout-outs here, Joshi, before we go. I want to give a huge shout-out to the entire production team behind the scenes. Things are always going crazy, but they make us look so damn good. So thank you all. Thank you so much. And to the audience for tuning in. It was an absolute banger of a day. We didn't get to go to all 3 games for both series, but we got to get one at least. And it's been a fun one to be alongside you, Joshi. Thank you for casting with me and being along for that ride. But that's it from us. That's going to be it. And have a wonderful night, everyone. We'll see you next time on Summoner's Rift.